African lion, king of the African bush, for now. Wild lions have been reduced to a quarter of their historic range. Where once there were over 300,000 wild lions in the world, there are now less than 30,000, and most of these are in Africa. Only 7 countries have populations greater than 1,000 lions. Lions both fascinate and terrify us. They represent the power and the majesty of Africa's wildlife. It's understandable, then, that tourists are eager to get up close and personal and will pay handsomely for the experience. Lion walks have become a very popular and highly profitable attraction. Lion petting, even more so. Many of these operations claim to have a conservation angle. But is it conservation? And is it good for the African lion? Ian Mickler, an investigative journalist and conservationist, thinks not.
So I've been studying these operations now for over 15 years. I've looked at all the angles. There is no value whatsoever to any of these facilities in South Africa or Zimbabwe or Zambia. There's not a single lion ecologist in Africa, in fact, in the world, who will agree that there's any conservation value doing what these guys are doing. So, no conservation value at all.
David Yulden disagrees. This is the African Lion and Environmental Research Trust, ALERT for short, in Zambia. It's an operation he runs, which includes walking with lions, but also claims to be Africa's first genuine program to ethically reintroduce the offspring of captive bred African lions back into the wild. So we took a closer look. The first question we asked David was, is walking with lions good for conservation?
I would have to say the simple answer is no. But that's not what we do. What we do is ex situ reintroduction of lions to augment wild lion populations in the absence currently of viable long-term solutions to protect wild lions. In trying to achieve that aim, we have developed a staged program that allows captive bred lions to learn the skills they need to survive on their own in a fenced environment, to have cubs that are raised totally naturally and free of human contact and can then be released into the wild.
ALERT calls it the Rehabilitation and Release Program, a 4-stage program partly funded by international tourists and volunteers. The first stage is breeding. Cubs are removed from their captive mothers when they're about 3 weeks old and placed with handlers. From 6 weeks, they get taken on walks into the bush with groups of 8 to 10 tourists, each paying around $130 for about an hour's walk.
Now a quick introduction to the people we are joining on this walk. We have Lovewell.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We also have Kennedy too over there.
Good morning.
Volunteers also come up from all over the world to work on these programs, paying up to $5,000 a head for the privilege. It's a revenue stream that brings in hundreds of thousands of dollars.
If any program is reliant on donor funding, you cannot classify that as a sustainable approach because donor funding is far too unreliable. We have looked at ways where we can achieve the aims of the program whilst commercializing it as much as we can.
The river you can see is River Zambezi, one of the biggest rivers we have here in Zambia.
We don't walk these lions for fun, we don't do it for commercial reasons. We walk these lions because they need to have experience of their natural habitat in order to be able to develop their natural instincts and their survive in a release area on their own.
Come on, come on, come on, come on.
A lot of the play behaviours that they engage in are precursors to adult behaviours. So they'll practice stalking each other, jumping on each other's throat holes, all those behaviours that you'll see them engage in when they're older. As these get bigger and more confident, when they encounter game, they'll really start to engage in predatory behaviours as well.
We've had lions at as young as 13 months old take down giraffe. We've had lions take down buffalo.
By the time these cubs are 18 months old, they're simply too dangerous to walk. And this is where the controversy kicks in. What happens to these lions then?
The root of that controversy is because within South Africa, almost without exception, lions that have interacted with humans will end up going into the canned hunting operations and being shot. That is not what we do. We have never provided lions to be shot in the canned hunting industry and never will. Lions in our program, once they are too old to walk, simply carry on through our release program.
An hour's ride inland from the Zambezi River is the Dumbwa Forest. Here, Alert have a 700-hectare electric fenced area where some of the young lions are taken. It's here where all human contact ceases, and the pride hunts by themselves and lives out their days pretty much as a wild pride would. There clearly has been money spent on this. They employ locals to manage the area, prey species have to be bought in, and the entire area is heavily electrified. The cost of this release site so far, more than $2 million.
We're looking to expand that and to create another release site which is even bigger. Since their release, they have now had their first cubs. We have no contact with those cubs at all. They are wild-born cubs. And I can see our pride ahead of us. On the first time we released lions into an area like this, the lions made their first kill, I think it was on the morning of day 4. And all evidence shows that they are quite capable of killing a range of prey and doing so at a rate that is akin to what a wild pride is able to achieve.
In the bushes is the first set of lion cubs born to this pride, the so-called third stage of the program.
We have 2 prides now that have been released into these managed areas. Both now have cubs, and it's those cubs that will be released into the wild. So now we're at a point where we are starting to publish in academic journals the real results so that everybody can see what we've done, how it's worked. And that includes our failings as well. This is a world first. Things at every stage have gone not quite the way we'd expected.
These cubs are now over 2 years old and have still not been released into the wild. In the 10 years that Alert has been in operation, not a single lion has been released. They have also not been able to secure more release sites for the growing number of lions now too dangerous to walk. And by Alert's own admission, they now have a bottleneck. Ian argues that there's also no need for captive bred lion.
There are enough wild lion stocks available in Africa today to be used as founder populations if ecologists or conservationists are looking to re-establish lion populations.
Panthera is a global organization involved in wildcat conservation. They argue these programs do little to deal with the real cause of the problem, and that translocating existing wild lion populations has been going on for the last 20 years. David Yulden counters that this is not a replacement program, it's a safety net.
And we believe that the IUCN's policy on ex situ conservation, that do not leave it too late. If you leave it till when a species is at critical stage, you have a significantly lower chance of success. So whilst we are working on in situ conservation efforts, dealing with human-wildlife conflict, habitat protection, that has to be the primary focus for lions. But I think it would be very remiss not to have a backup plan using captive bred lions as a potential source for reintroduction.
The genetically distinct lions of West and Central Africa are close to extinction, so there may be merit in using a program like this there. But it has yet to prove that it can be that backup plan. During the making of this program, Alert announced that from November, they will no longer have lion walks in Zambia to reduce the number of lions entering the program. But it's those lions that leave these programs that are of concern. Alert may be adamant that they have nothing to do with captive lion hunting, but almost all other walking with lions operations do. They're bred to be shot for the canned lion hunting business. It's a business that has reduced the mighty iconic African lion to the status of farming stock. It's now thought that about 8,000 captive lions are caged in breeding farms. It takes 4 years before they are trophy size, with their bones, skins, and body parts shipped off to a growing market in Asia. The South African government has allowed this industry to flourish, but countries like the USA and Australia are stepping in to block trade in lion parts. In the words of Australian Environmental Minister, it's not fair, it's not humane, it's not 21st century. On my watch, it's not acceptable.